everyone, and welcome to the main event, Mark's Podcast. We are here in October, finally, and I am your first host, Troy. And with me, as always, is our WWE Walking Wrestling Encyclopedia. He is the Doom number 2 to my Doom number 1. He is Greg. What's up, Greg?
What's up? Number 2 was clearly Ron Simmons, so I call that. Sorry.
I didn't pay attention to who is who.
I don't know either, but I'm just calling it because, Butch Reed, no thanks.
It was funny. Hey, Butch Reed invented Netflix. He's rolling in the dough right now, man. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he started this little service back in the 90s where he just delivered films rented through his service by bicycle, and then it evolved into what is now Netflix, and now he's rolling in the dough, and he's super over in Florida. So
is Ron Simmons, though. What's your point?
Yeah, that Seminole, or what was it, the Seminole Chop, whatever.
Yeah.
He always had to mention that crap. But yeah, so we're back to the Atlanta Wrestling Group here, the original Atlanta Wrestling Group.
The wrestling.
This was shortly before they morphed from NWA into WCW. This was the first and last NWA Halloween Havoc. And it was the first Halloween Havoc ever. So there was a lot of reasons to cover this event, plus the fact that I've never seen it before, and I'm all about firsts and lasts, and you and I always talk about that on this show. And I thought this was a good way to start the Halloween Havoc era. I don't know, not every match on this show was great or even good.
There's a couple of reasons to watch this, though. This is not going to be like a crap fest that we're just going to go whole hog on. Like not like that UWF show that we did.
Yeah, no, there was. I mean, this wasn't like a bad show all in all. I mean, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
There is one moment in this in the last match that has nothing to do with wrestling that for me alone is worth watching this. We'll get to that though. But
okay,
I can't wait to talk about this because I never saw it, and I don't remember seeing it. And once I saw it last night when I watched this, I'm like, oh my god, that was so badass. So we'll get to it. But
yeah, there was something at the very end of the show. It took me a minute. I'm like, wait, is that? And like when I figured out what it was, I was like, yes, that's awesome. And they didn't edit it off the network. But we'll get into that. Either way, what we're talking about here is Halloween Havoc 1989. We're going to get into all of that right after the news and notes here. But before we get into the news and notes, I just want to take a moment to ask you all to follow us on social media. Twitter and Instagram, you can find us at @mainevent_marks. Also, we have a side Instagram that it's mostly Greg's doing. But I send him some stuff here and there because we're both collectors. But if you follow, is it @maineventcollector?
Yep, Main Event Collector, and it's all lowercase, no underscores. I was able to snag that URL. I don't know how, but cool.
Yeah, there you go.
Not that it's like a big popular one, but like, I don't know. I feel like anytime I try to grab one, it's already taken. And that was like the first time ever in life I tried something on the internet for the first time and got it. So
yeah, so check out Main Event Collector. We will pimp them every now and again on our Twitter and also our Facebook. If you go to facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, we will talk about the collectors page on there as well. Yeah, that's if you're into all things not necessarily wrestling figures, because I mean, are you posting your other unique finds as well?
I will, but like I just started, so it's all wrestling right now. But,
okay,
yeah. It will be. Mostly X-Men, Ninja Turtles. That's my other ones I collect.
Cool. Yes. So we'll get in. He'll get into updating all of it eventually, and it's if you're into all the if you're into all the figure talk here on the show or on the YouTube channel, you're going to like it. Definitely go follow it. Like I said, @Main Event Collector. And we are @MainEvent_Marks. So now that is plugged, we will take our first break of the podcast and come back to you with all the news and notes from that time. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram @MainEvent_Marks and Facebook Facebook.com/MainEventMarksPod.
Now, back to our program.
We are back, and it is time for your favorite part of the show and mine. It is all the news and notes from the time of this event. And we've already covered some stuff from 1989 in the past. We've done I think this is our 4th or 5th show from the year 1989. So,
let's also tell them, too, we've decided to kind of take a hiatus from this year after this event.
Yeah. I mean, this goes to show you how big and historic this is. And the reason we did so many 1989 shows already was because in June, I believe it was, we did the entire trilogy of Flair and Steamboat, and that all took place in 1989, so we covered all 3 events. And then,
so to be fair, we didn't select, like, this event from 89, we selected the match and decided to do the event.
Right. Yeah, so, because we wanted to cover the whole thing and kind of give context and all that stuff. So, but this is our last for quite a while. I was looking ahead in the schedule. I don't see any 1989 anytime soon, and I've got us booked out until, like, next spring. I mean, obviously...
EJ is not a procrastinator, folks.
No, at least not with this stuff. It's card subject to change.
I'm going to be honest, when you showed me that list, I'm like, holy crap, how far out is this? I think you had it to pass WrestleMania 37, at least.
Yeah, I think I got it booked until May. So there's,
I like that actually. Not to get off topic. I like it because when I'm bored, I can fire up one, get the notes done. So
yeah,
although I get to do that, but that's my plan.
Right. And it's all fluid, but we'll get into it. But no 1989 for a while. This is the last one, but there is some big stuff still going on here in October of 89.
Also at the tail end of 89 too. Let's keep that in mind. So this is closer to 90.
Right. The first one is a big one. I'll get into the WWF and WCW stuff, or NWA stuff rather, towards the end. But this first story, I never heard of this before. This is nuts. It's been asked. I mean, obviously, you can take what Meltzer says with a grain of salt. However, the culture in Japan is very different than here in America, and it's a largely populated country, but it's a small island compared to any place else. Even though they're very advanced with technology and all this other stuff. But yeah, Antonio Inoki, it was asked of Dave Meltzer in the past. It's like, well, how does he compare in Japan to Hulk Hogan in America? And he said, and I mean, he's not wrong with saying this, where he said, well, Hogan was the bigger star in America and internationally, whatever. But in Japan, Hulk Hogan was nothing compared to Antonio Inoki, which he's not wrong. He was like a god over there.
Yeah, well, I mean, also to be fair, in Japan, Hogan's nothing compared to Scott Norton. And I am not being funny.
Antonio Inoki made a public appearance at a concert, and a mental patient jumped onto the stage and apparently slashed him with a knife from ear to throat. He suffered a deep 6-centimeter long gash in his neck and lost 2,000 cc's of blood and was ordered home for a month to recover.
I remember hearing something about an incident with a fan and a knife. I don't remember what it was. I guess this must be it.
Yeah. Knowing how tough Antonio Inoki was, I imagine after he got sliced, even bleeding as bad as he was and everything, like, I would have been afraid to be the guy with a knife.
Yeah, right?
Figured he would have pulled a Crocodile Dundee on me and been like, that's not a knife, and then he just, like, karate chops me into next week.
There was a story years ago, like, someone attacking one of the Gracies, the famous MMA family, with a knife, and someone said, oh my god, how's the knife? I was like, oh crap.
Yeah, I would have been afraid that figured they would have taken that knife while it's still in my hand and shoved it up my ass.
Right. That's funny though, because if you go back and go look at like Inoki's Hall of Fame induction, like he's wearing like a nice suit and like a $1 million scarf that made Chris Jericho jealous.
Yeah, right.
And like I look at that, I'm like, that guy's a badass.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
I mean, don't let that deceive you, but yeah, I mean,
right. If anybody wants evidence, look. If anybody wants to see just like when keeping it real goes wrong, YouTube search for Antonio Inoki versus the Great Antonio. Oh my gosh, that was.
We'll just leave it at that. I don't want to promote that. I mean, not that it's. I mean, it's
rough.
I'm trying to find the right words. I'm not saying it because I don't want to promote it. I just, it's kind of violent.
Jerry Lawler was fired as the booker of Memphis and replaced with Dutch Mantell and Ricky Morton, of all people. But Lawler keeps control of his own stuff, so he's still happy.
Because that's a duo.
Yeah.
That's the most random-ass duo. Yeah, I fully believe it, if that makes sense.
Get Uncle Zebekiah and
Richard Morton.
The guy who gets beat up on the Rock and Roll Express.
Richard Morton from the York Foundation.
Good lord.
It's not Ricky Morton from the Rock and Roll Express, okay? If he's a booker, he's clearly Richard Morton.
Right, yeah, and he's got his little computer with him.
Yeah.
Well, my thing was...
You're determined that you can book this territory in 4 months and turn it into a success, said Alexandra's computer.
What the hell?
Shout out to anybody who gets that. You have to know what the York Foundation is and how it works.
Speaking of Memphis, Lawler unsurprisingly dropped the USWA title to Soul Taker, who, for those of you that don't know, is the Godfather.
Wow, I didn't know that was his name. That explains Papa Shango.
Yeah. Yeah, he went from Soul Taker to Papa Shango. And
so Soul Taker is best friends with The Undertaker.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a shoot, folks. Go watch the Last Ride documentary if you don't know.
Sorry. Oh, yeah, for sure. And one owns a strip club, and the other one really loves strip clubs. I mean, I don't know about anymore, but...
You see his wife, he does not need to go to a strip club.
No. Koko B. Ware will be... Man, we got stabbing, and we got this. Hey, we're going into racism, man. Here we go.
Good. I mean, you started with Koko B. Ware, though. I'm already listening, man.
Hell yeah.
I mean, asses in seats or ears in headphones, whatever. I'm here. I'm for it. Let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, me and Jacob Grandi talked about the amazingly mild reaction he got at SummerSlam 88, where he came out and you could have heard a mouse fart.
Mild?
You could have, yeah.
Mild and tells that something happened.
Yeah.
You guys might have overkidding.
Let's just say Koko B. Ware came out, and if his theme song wasn't playing, you could have heard a mouse piss on cotton. I was trying to be nice.
He's in the Hall of Fame, folks. And, Brian Pillman is not...
He's the standard. People, he's, how they say, we are the bar. Well, people use him as the bar. Like, whenever they say, does so-and-so deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? They always go, Koko B. Ware. And they're like, you know what? You're right.
See, that's really unfair, because I think it should be Drew Carey, but okay. Anyways, a good audience. Sorry.
He doesn't count. He's in the celebrity wing. I honestly forget they even exist half the time, so... Koko B. Ware will be brought back in early 1990 after his firing in Europe due to the sensitive or racial nature of his fight with executive Jim Troy. Troy, who Uncle Dave described as Titan VP in charge of international affairs and lying about pay-per-view buy rates. Well, that's a little editorialism and mouthful. Anyway, he resigned from his position immediately after the fight and will be working more in boxing because, there are less black people in boxing, Greg.
I think they had no black folks in that sport for years.
Yeah, right. Yeah. In 1989, I can't think of a single black boxer that was on top of the world. Not one. For those that don't know what happened...
No, you're forgetting about that new young badass guy. He looked like a bulldog. What's his name? Tyson. Yeah, Tyson.
No, Tyke Myson. Yeah.
Does anybody get that reference from what movie that is? Send a shout on Twitter. I would love it if you got that.
But this thing came from... They were doing a tour in Europe, and apparently, I don't know if they were on the bus or in a bar. I've gotten different stories about it. But this Jim Troy, who was, the VP in charge of international affairs or whatever, I don't remember. But he was a higher up in WWE, WWF, whatever. He popped off some pretty racial insults at Koko B. Ware. And even though he looks like he might be somebody you could possibly mess with, Koko B. Ware, much like the Wu-Tang Clan, ain't nothing to F with. And he joined the Smackahoe tribe that day. And apparently it was pretty bad. He beat the tar out of this guy from everything I've heard. And they fired both of them because they were like, well, you were fighting in a bar, and you're fired for being a raging racist. So
I would think, that would be Koko's out.
But, right. Yeah. I guess back in 1989, they didn't applaud people for standing up for themselves against raging racists. Then again...
Well, if you hadn't been black, this wouldn't happen, dude. Sorry. Good Lord.
Wow.
That's what it sounds like. I mean...
Yeah, you're right. Well, it's kind of like, didn't they fire Alberto for smacking that guy?
Yes. He made fun of him for being Mexican, right? Or made a Mexican...
Yeah, he kept making, jokes at him about being Mexican and saying, being a busboy or whatever. He was like, oh, bust my tray for me or whatever. And he was like, what'd you say? And this wasn't, the first time either. He'd made multiple...
I would have smacked the crap out of him, too. You don't say that crap.
Yeah. And Alberto stood up, smacked the dog crap out of this guy. And then they told him he needed to apologize. And he said, no, I'm not apologizing to him. And so they fired him.
I'll apologize to the restaurant for making a scene, or wherever the hell they were.
I think they were in catering, so...
Whatever. Okay, apologize to all your fellow coworkers for making a scene. That's as far as I would go.
Yeah, sorry I had to do that here. I know crap splatters, so... Yeah, I don't understand.
I can't believe that. So, basically, Koko got reprimanded because someone was racist to him.
And he beat the dog crap out of him, yeah.
That makes total sense.
I mean,
Also, I'm a little sensitive because honestly, I loved Koko when I was I still do, but he was one of my favorites. I mean, you know this about me. Like babyfaces when I was a kid, man, I ate that stuff up. If they were like that, I was all for it. And Koko with Frankie was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So that kind of hurts to hear, but
he's
glad to beat the hell out of it.
Say that. Yeah, that's true. And the guy lost his job, and they did bring him back, not defending it because there's no defense for it. But I mean, if you I get it where you're like, okay, we're trying to be more corporate, and if you physically assault somebody, we have to do something. Give him a slap on the wrist. Don't fire the guy.
Or suspend him for a week, or make him look like a fool on TV because you have that ability within pro wrestling.
Yeah. Well, plus this wasn't on company time either, so it's not like, well, you beat somebody up on company time. This was his own free time. So I don't care if the guy's higher up in the company or not. You're clearly firing him, so who cares?
89. Was that the ring boy scandal here?
Oh, with Patterson? I don't know. I'm
only saying this. I'm like, they were probably trying to avoid more bad press. I'm just trying to figure out a reason, but not that there's a logical reason. I'm just trying to figure out a reason.
Supposedly they discounted all of those allegations against Patterson, but you know how people are nowadays.
Well, I mean, they can discount all they want, but like that episode of Donahue, that famous one, for my knowledge, the only time Vince McMahon and Dave Meltzer were on TV on the same thing at the same time. It was all about that. And Billy Graham was there, and Bruno was there, and I'm not sure if this was the year, but I feel like they were trying to get away from more bad press. So,
wow, yeah, I didn't see that. So
it's on YouTube. You get bored, so
yeah, I'll have to check that out. If you want a reason to trash Dave Meltzer for the same stuff you trashed him for last week,
look, I'm not trying to copy Bischoff, okay? But seriously, I see his point. I'm trying to go show without flipping out on that idiot. But go ahead.
Well, some of this stuff is just like you said, he makes it not fun after a while. It's like, dude, like I get it, people pay him for this stuff, but for God's sake,
like I've said, it's a felony in California to rip off the. Never mind. Go on.
to rip people off. No, yeah. Well, I mean. He could believe his own garbage, so...
I hope he does, honestly. I mean, that would make some sense. I mean, okay, you really believe this. I mean, you can't really get pissed at somebody who believes that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I will say this, he is right about this, but it doesn't make it right to kind of ruin it. I mean, keep in mind we're in October. WrestleMania is not till March. Uncle Dave lets everybody know that the main event for WrestleMania will be Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior.
Wow.
So there you go.
I want to say that come January we know.
Yeah, but he's printing it like 3 months ahead of. I don't know, because
at this point, wasn't it still rumored to be Hogan and Zeus?
I think so. They were building up the Survivor Series. Listen to 2 weeks, or I'm getting my time mixed up. Listen to
the Saturday Night's Main Event episode. Yeah, the last one.
Yeah. Listen to the Saturday Night Main Event 23. Episode we did back in last month. It's now in the archives. It's from September of '89, so we kind of cover more of that. I don't even know who the Warrior was feuding with at this point.
I know he wrestled Rick Rude at SummerSlam. I don't know if he was still going.
Who did he wrestle at Survivor Series? Anybody?
He was on a team against the Heenan family, so I think he was feuding with Andre.
Oh, okay. All right. This is one that made me laugh. Kind of a year too soon here, Dave. He said the LA Coliseum is still the leading candidate to get WrestleMania 6. Wrong. Yeah. I mean,
they wouldn't even get WrestleMania 7 either. So, yeah, I remember we did a show recently, and we talked about how the brand new Skydome was the leading candidate. So,
yeah,
I remember vividly you saying that in one of the new segments. So,
right, yeah. So they're changing course. And I think Bruce
Pritchard... So, what you're saying is plans changed.
Yes, exactly. And I believe Bruce Pritchard talked about this, where they were courting the WWF heavily, but they just decided they're like, well, next year, or something like that. By they, I mean the LA Coliseum people.
Because they had just hosted the Olympics there, right?
I believe so, yeah. TBS has ordered a stop to all of the blood on the NWA product, be it TV, pay-per-view, or house shows. This would not last long, but this would actually lead to... Oh, go ahead.
I want to say that's because of Eddie Gilbert that we didn't see on that Flair Steamboat 2 at the Clash of Champions in the Superdome. They added that off the network, but I believe Eddie Gilbert bleeds. Like, I know it's like cliche, like a stuck pig, but dude, he was gushing. It was disgusting. But
wow.
I believe that's the reason. I'm just taking a guess there, but...
I wonder if he accidentally pulled a Bill Alfonso and hit a hit an artery or something.
Right, yeah.
Well, this didn't last.
Man, to think about. Sorry.
Yeah, this didn't last very long. The no blood thing. However, it did lead to. I'm getting my timelines mixed up here because we just covered Saturday Night's main event. So and Dusty was there. They had various no blood things that would like they'd bring it back and then they would be like, okay, blood again. Bring it back. Okay, no blood again.
Yeah.
They did that in WCW too, and I can't remember which one it was, but it was the one. I think it was a Clash of the Champions where Dusty had the Road Warriors stick a spike in his eye.
It was definitely Clash of the Champions or Saturday Nights. So
yeah, it was Clash of the Champions, but I can't remember which one. And he had them jab a spike in his eye, and he was fired for it because he bled all over the place. And this was like right after Turner was like, no blood. And he's like, oh, screw you, baby. I'm going to put a spike in my eye.
Blood, that's not for somebody else. That's for me, Daddy.
Yeah. Like, and then.
And we're going to leave the blood on the face right where it is.
And then 30 years from now, we're going to reenact this with Chris Jericho and John Moxley and something called the AWA, also on a Turner broadcast station.
It's AEW, dude.
What did I call it?
The AWA.
Oh, I made that mistake twice.
I've actually called AEW APW, which is a local wrestling here.
You were fairly young at this point, so you probably
5 years old.
Yeah, so you don't remember, or I don't know if you remember this at all, or I don't even know if it hit your neck of the woods. But this is the week where a major earthquake caused the postponement of the World Series game. And
yeah, I didn't hit my neck of the woods at all. Well, I vividly remember this. It's the first time I ever thought, like, oh my God, I'm dying. I'm like 5
wow.
or 6. I was scared crapless, dude. I mean, like, damn. I had never experienced it before.
Well, apparently
I wasn't at my house. I was at my friend's house down the street, and the world's shaking. Like, we were having a big barbecue, a big party, because the A's were playing the Giants in the World Series. This was a huge thing. And we ended up winning, by the way. We swept them, but whatever. Anyways, I remember this, though. Yeah, dude. It destroyed the Bay Area.
Yeah, it said it did.
Bay Bridge and just destroyed half of San Francisco. It's crazy.
Yeah, it said it did billions of dollars in damage. Also, the postponement of the World Series game was moved to the same night as Halloween Havoc. So I assume you didn't order Halloween Havoc.
I watched this, man. I watched this on tape afterward. I don't know if anyone knows what a VHS tape is. Go look it up. But because my neighbor, they were like huge baseball. I mean, we were all baseball fans, but they had a huge TV, so we watched it over there. And yeah, I remember this vividly because this is like my A's were a dynasty.
Wow.
So, but yeah, for that reason alone, I remember it.
Did it cause any damage to like your house or anything?
No, not that I remember. If it did, they took care without me knowing, or I'm just forgetting.
Wow.
But I remember the whole world just moving.
Are you the oldest? Are you the oldest of your siblings?
Yeah. So my sister was just over 1 at the time.
So you're the only one that remembers this.
I am, yeah.
Wow.
I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't remember this year at all if this didn't happen. Stuff gets stuck in your mind.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, if I was 5 and I felt like, holy crap, the world's gonna cave in, like, yeah, I'd probably remember that too.
I feel like I didn't know what death was at 5, but I felt like I was like gonna die, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it was that bad.
It's been a good run, all 5 years of it.
Kindergarten's been fun for a couple of months. Goodbye. Wow. No, and I know it was like a month, actually. Yeah, just 1 month.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, it's been a good run. After this show will be the Clash of the Champions 9 New York Knockout on November 15th. The main event will be Ric Flair versus Terry Funk in an I Quit match, which Uncle Dave says will likely be Funk's retirement match. However, Dave doesn't discount.
Sorry.
Dave doesn't discount the possibility that he might come out of retirement again someday.
Oh, man.
This was 1989, folks.
I feel like we had this exact same conversation at a 1997 show we did.
We did.
This is his last match. Yeah, it was a Canadian Stampede, I believe. This is going to be
definitely riding off in the sunset.
And then he would come back with the woman's pantyhose on his face and come out of a box.
He's going to have a chainsaw and saw out of a box. It's going to be over. Yeah, so this is a thing with Funk every couple of months, or every couple of years, I should say. You're like, oh, middle-aged and crazy. Like, well, you're damn right he is. Well, now he's like golden years and crazy.
I missed the show. Do you know why he missed the show? Tell me why.
Oh, his horse was sick, and Bruce Pritchard's mother's a whore. Oh, God dang it, Bruce, I got a call from my brother Dory. He said our horse was sick. Stupid horse. I'll never forget. Stupid horse, and then he punches him. You remember that?
Yeah.
The guy was old, like elderly. A horse back-kicked him in the arm, and his response was to say, stupid horse, and punch him. Who does that?
Middle-aged and crazy guys, I don't know.
Terry Funk's low-key my hero. Last story here. The NWA also announced that there will be a Red Robin tournament format for Starrcade, and Uncle Dave thinks that it's a great idea for a free TV show. But for the biggest show of the year, you actually need a main event and storyline for fans to focus on. And this is not that. Plus, they'll have Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson back by then, and they won't even be on the show.
They won't have Tully, but
about that.
At this point, was Starrcade their biggest show?
It was, yeah.
Okay. So it makes even less sense, yeah.
They always tried these weird gimmicks with I think this...
yeah, they did the King of the Cable there, too, and... Which is funny, King of Cable. It had nothing to do with, like, scaling the cable or something. They were talking about TV, which is literally built into the name for this should be on TV. But, you know,
right.
And whatever.
If you remember, in 91 and 92, they started the Battle Bowl bull crap.
Yeah.
Like, why did
they did that later? Bowl? They did that later in WCW too, that DDP one. But was that Starrcade? I feel like that was.
It was its own show by that point.
Oh, Slamboree, yeah, Slamboree featuring Battle Bowl, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was an actual like Battle Bowl event at one point.
Yeah, it was
like,
at Slamboree.
Just called Battle Bowl.
Yeah, it was Slamboree, I believe. And that was their hidden dig at WWE. And instead of King of the Ring, they called it the Lord of the Ring. And
yes, and he actually got a ring, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Stupid. Yeah. So, look, I'm fine with like a gimmick. If you want to throw a gimmick on your big match, okay. But the show itself is a gimmick. And luckily they took a break from that for a couple of years. But then back in 95, they have the World Cup of Wrestling, which was, there wasn't any, they had Ric Flair versus Randy Savage as the main event for the WCW title. That was like the only match not part of that throughout the night, I think.
Yeah. But I also want to say though, you know, that event was pretty damn good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it was bad. It's just like, why are you doing this at Starrcade? Starrcade, their biggest show of the year at that point, didn't have Hulk Hogan on it, by the way. Just pointing that out.
Seems to be a theme.
Yeah.
That was 95, you said?
Yeah.
Then 96, he would be on there against Piper. But the title was on the line.
Wasn't that the match of the century or whatever?
Yes.
Good Lord.
Yeah, they'll put your title on the line. And at that point, I believe it was their biggest selling pay-per-view.
Yeah. That's just
their biggest pay-per-view. I mean, there's plenty of reasons not to have the title on the line. So, yeah.
Well, according to Bischoff, by 96, it was definitely Halloween Havoc was their big show of the year.
I'll go back and watch historically, yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Again, anyway, though, 97 Halloween Havoc, Piper and Hogan, Cage, no title on the line. This whole argument can be made for this, too.
A cage that looked similar to the one we're going to be talking about here today. Yeah. And I think
brain, no titles on their pay-per-views, but whatever. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a perfect transition with the cage here to get into the event at hand. We will get into it right after this quick break. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at @mainevent_marks and Facebook at facebook.com/maineventmarkspod.
Now, back to our program.
All right, now that we're back, it is time for NWA Halloween Havoc 1989. The tagline, settling the score. The date was October 28th, 1989, so 3 days before Halloween? I don't do math well.
I don't know them little squares on the paper with the numbers on it that tells you what today is.
What the hell? It took place at the Philadelphia Civic Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Attendance, 7,300. So, not a big crowd, but it's Philadelphia, so it's a hot crowd.
There's also a WWE territory too, right?
Yeah,
I'm guessing that's why they're not at the Spectrum.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that 7,300 is a sellout. They weren't really selling out anything in '89. Go back and listen to our previous episodes from NWA 1989. Flair and Steamboat headlining the show. The cards don't actually look that bad on paper, and they can't sell out crap. I mean, that, they were at the Superdome for that Clash of the Champions, Ragin' Cajun, and, oh gosh, what'd they have? Like, they had less than 10,000 people, I think.
Yeah, that's in a 60,000. You and I have been there, by the way. That thing's huge.
Yes.
So,
Jim Cornette historically calls it it says the crowd was equal to a piss hole in a snowbank.
wow. So like something he would say about New Yorkers. New Orleans.
Wow.
Well, he does. He seems to hate New Yorkers like passion.
Yeah. Well, Uncle Dave.
I'm from Kentucky. Sorry.
Kentucky. Uncle Dave absolutely hated Halloween Havoc 1989. He felt that the show ended the string of excellent NWA pay-per-views for the year, saying that it was far from the worst, but came off as just another night of wrestling.
Yeah, man. I hate agreeing with that. But I thought it was.
I don't know if it was the worst of the year. I mean, maybe. I don't know. You and I thought that Wrestle War was pretty boring.
And he said that was one of the best, didn't he?
No, he loved it. He was there in person. I think he was there in person for this one, too, because he's commenting.
Extra biasness, right?
Yeah. Well, I think he was there physically for this one, too, because he was commenting on what the live crowd reaction was and saying, well, I don't know how it came off on TV. So I assume he flew out to Philly for this, which is a hell of a thing to fly out to Philly for.
You don't write this back? Like, I don't know how it came off. I mean, sorry, write it. You don't watch this back?
I don't think he does. Like, if he's physically honestly, there.
I don't watch back every event I go to, like, every one of them. But, like, if I'm to write a review about it and write something about how it came off on TV, I'm definitely going to do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to endear you to me and turn off a few listeners with this next comment. But I said, thank God this was Philadelphia before ECW existed, or we'd have to be hearing those idiots chant for their bingo hall garbage federation throughout the entire night.
Yeah.
Especially with the amount of boringness that was on the show, because there is some boringness. Yeah.
Moments too, though, that I really liked. So.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn everyone off right away and say it sucked, but
no,
there are some stuff. There's some things I really liked.
Yeah, absolutely. And
actually, now looking at my ratings for some of the stuff, I may have been overdoing it by saying this was a horrible show, but
yeah,
I don't know. It just felt flat to me, but.
Yeah, it wasn't like what you would think, like, oh, it's a first Halloween Havoc. Had to have been great, right? About that. But I mean, like you said, it wasn't bad. I'm gonna get a little offensive here. Sorry, but we see Gordon Solie on the mic backstage. I wonder how many flasks he had hidden in that suit jacket. I'm sorry. But Jim Ross himself admitted if we didn't pick him right up from the airport and get him into the studio right away, he would have been drunk at the airport bar before we did anything. And he said he would
margaritas and add a souffle with it. So
yeah. He's going for a vertical souffle, and I'm going to take another hit of my large stogie that I have with me. He was always sitting there smoking while he was commentating, but.
Hey, like I said, man, Lemmy from Motorhead did that when he was recording vocals sometimes, and he was still badass, so.
Yeah, well, this first match was not badass. It was Captain Mike Rotunda versus the Z-Man.
Again, before we even start the show, I gotta give you props for your transitions, man.
I'm trying. This one, for those that don't know who the Z-Man was, it was Tom Zank, but they announced him just as the Z-Man. He was, this went on for 13 minutes, 23 seconds. Mother of God. If you're probably thinking the same thing I'm thinking. 13 and a half minutes for Z-Man and Rotunda. That's not enough.
Exactly what I was thinking, yes.
Both men get booed. Rotunda is in control.
First note, real quick, is which one of these guys is the heel?
Rotunda is supposed to be.
No, I know. I'm just like the reaction though. I'm like,
right.
Who are you more rooting for, or who are you less booing?
I think they booed Rotunda mostly just because of maybe the Syracuse connection.
That's true. It's right there. Yeah.
I would assume.
I'm assuming their Penn State got people there. Okay.
Yeah. Either that, or that's what I'm assuming. And then, this is Philly. Even back in 1989, them in New York were considered, and Chicago somewhat, were considered the quote-unquote smart fans. So, and we'll get into that later in the show.
Redundant. Anyways.
Yeah, they're the smart marks. But yeah, so both guys get booed. Rotunda's in control for most of the match, but he does a second rope crossbody dive, which Z-Man rolls through for the pinfall win. Boring. Uncle Dave said that the Philly fans turned on Zank quickly and booed him, and that the match was pretty boring. I gave it 1.5 stars. Uncle Dave gave it 3/4 of a star. What say you?
Oh. Well, I said, match never got going for me. I was bored 5 minutes in. I said 1 star.
Yeah, this just...
My only other note was who was supposed to be the heel here.
Yep.
My fact that I wrote for this match, like, both these guys will always be remembered as tag team wrestlers. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to crap on the dead. Please don't think that, but the Can-Am connection was not really known for much. Strike Force was better when Martel went with Tito.
Yeah.
But as far as like Rotunda goes, Money Inc. was what I remember him for. So
I used this.
Sorry, guys, they were never going to be singles wrestlers, but
I used this a couple weeks ago for our UWF show. Something similar. I'm going to use it again for Tom Zank. He wasn't a bad worker, and he looked great, but he had all the charisma of buttered toast. Yeah. Jim Ross kept trying to put over, he's a ladies' man and whatever. It's like, I don't even think the ladies give a damn. Like, I
mean, you take a look at him, you can tell he's a good looking guy. I guess that has to be what he meant.
That's literally the only reason he had his job, is because he wasn't terrible in the ring, and god dang it, look at him.
He's man pretty, and he can get the girls screaming. That's enough to sell a few tickets.
Well, he was no Tom McGee, but yeah.
Man-ass Tom McGee.
Hell yeah. Mega Man Tom McGee.
Yeah,
when I think Mega Man, I think of the name Tom McGee.
I don't know, man. Nowadays, Mega Man means Kenny Omega to me, but...
Wow.
Well, if anyone's heard his theme, which is like probably one of the better ones in all of AEW, it's clearly a take on the Mega Man, or a Mega Man theme, so.
Nice. Chris Cruz is interviewing Bruno Sammartino backstage. Bruno's dressed like a referee because...
Hold on. Who's Chris Cruz?
I think you pointed out. Yeah, I think you pointed out to me tonight, or that on this night they said, well, he's making his debut in the NWA.
Yeah, they did.
So
but
he's like the newest ring announcer. Yeah, I don't know. He was part of the ever growing interview commentary team, whatever, and he quickly got lost in the shuffle. But I didn't think he was bad. He was just
I'm sure nondescript. Was tonight, huh?
Yeah. I think, well...
let's say we avoid all those jokes, by the way. Let's just move on. Sorry.
Well, you don't want to throw Missy Hyatt into this segment, and it would be super awkward while Bruno's trying to talk about the main event. She's hitting on him. I mean, isn't that what she did?
According to rumor and innuendo, yes.
Well, that was her gimmick. Either way, Cruz is interviewing Bruno Sammartino backstage. Bruno's dressed like a referee because he's going to be the referee for the Thunderdome Cage match in main event.
The Thunderdome! Welcome.
Good lord. Bruno lays out exactly what his job is going to be. So this is like a boring-ass promo. And I had to make a note. This is one of the first times I've seen Bruno Sammartino outside of the WWE where he wasn't trashing the WWE every other word.
Well, the check...
Yeah.
Well, actually, I should probably say the check didn't clear. That's why I didn't trash the competition.
Right. Yeah, just like that was always a thing. We'll get into more Bruno here in a little bit, but yeah, because I have some more stuff to say about him. But
is Bruno only here because they're in Pennsylvania and he was close?
I would say that's probably why they were like, "Hey, you want to come in and do another appearance?" But he was also at Clash of the Champions 20. He popped up once or twice again, and at Clash of the Champions 20, of course, he had to take his arbitrary dig at WWE. So yeah, he was like, "Well, this the stuff on the other channel, that's nothing that I'm familiar with. This is the stuff that I was used to throughout my career." Like, okay. Either way, he's not used to big muscle-bound guys holding the world championship for years. What? Either way. This next match, Dr. Death Steve Williams and the Midnight Express team of Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane, in my opinion, the Midnight Express. Yep. I might get some flack for that, but I don't give a damn.
I'm with you.
They've got Jim Cornette in their corner. They're taking on the Samoan SWAT team of Fatu and Samu, along with the Samoan Savage. In their corner, they have the Big Kahuna, who is Sir Oliver Humperdinck, dressed like Charlie Sheen on vacation.
My first note is, what the hell happened to Humperdinck? Before you say anything like, like he had some before, I just mean like, I remember him in the flamboyant suit and all that, and
yeah,
he is looking like this.
Yeah, he comes out looking like he's ready for luau. I don't know. The WWE Network version, or dubbed in a version of the Midnight Express theme that sounds like a 1990s club theme.
Yeah, they do that in all of them. That's a shame, too, because that's a classic theme.
Yeah. I can't think of the name of the song that I'm thinking of right off the top of my head, but it's one of those, like, Pump Up the Jam. That's it. Like, if you take the instrumental of Pump Up the Jam.
I can hear that now, actually, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. I was like, the hell? I wanted, like, strobe lights going, and, like, Cornette just starts, like, getting down with his bad self in the middle of the ring.
While swinging his racket.
Hell yeah.
And that is not an innuendo, folks. He literally had a racket in his hand.
Zing. Is that a racket in your pants, or are you just happy to see me? Cornette grabs a microphone and claims that the Midnight Express has wrecked more homes than Hurricane Hugo. Yeah. What was with him and mentioning disasters that killed people?
Because he's a disaster.
He said one of his first promos, or I don't know if it was one of his first promos, but when Dusty was booking, he said he goes out there and says something about, in the ring, you're going up quicker than the challenger. And Dusty, like, dropped the lights in the arena and stopped the record. And
is that the spaceship that exploded?
Yes, with the teacher inside. Well, yeah. Yeah, well, he said that, and he said as soon as he said that line, you see the power in the venue go, brrr. And he said, Dusty is like, come here. And he's like, kid, don't mention the challenger. Do it again.
I'm sorry, it's just funny to me, by the way, not that. I'm trying to get off.
No. Yeah.
It's funny to me that Dusty Rhodes, anybody at that point, or any time would ever call Jim Cornette kid.
Yeah, well.
He's
you gotta think about
it. But, you know.
Right. Either way, this is the final NWA WCW pay-per-view appearance for Dr. Dusty Williams until Beach Blast 1992. Hell of a time to make your return. Fatu and the Samoan Savage both have dreadlocks. Samu does not. They almost look like the Usos that went on, like, a buffet tour of America. But either way, the Samoan Savage, for those that don't know, is the Tonga Kid.
Who I've met millions of times.
Seriously?
He's literally always at Jacob Fatu's matches at APW. Yeah.
Nice.
You're like every single show he's hanging out there.
Is that his uncle?
Probably.
And I know we mention this every single week, the show, but it bears repeating. He was heavily featured in the Jimmy Snuka episode of Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
Check that out.
It's got to the point, by the way, where we have to mention that show, so.
Yeah, it unfortunately comes up. Fortunately, unfortunately, whatever, it comes up a lot, so.
We're not praising, like, oh, yeah, death, but the show is so good.
Yes, very good.
If you haven't watched it, go watch them all. They are amazing.
For a true crime wrestling show, it's great. In the end, everything breaks down. Cornette knocks Humperdinck off the apron with a racket. Samoan Savage knocks Lane into Cornette, and then the Savage covers Lane for the win. Uncle Dave said that this was the debut of Oliver Humperdinck as the Big Kahuna, managing the Samoans and trying to be Lou Albano. he also said...
Wow, I didn't piece that together. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah,
so stupid, but now I get it. I did not piece that together.
Yeah, looking back, I get it. Didn't he manage the Wild Samoans in the WWF?
He did, and he would manage the Head Shrinkers when they turned face, too.
So, okay, so that makes sense. Yeah. Very good. He said very good overall in spots, but disjointed in others. He gave it 2 3/4 stars. I gave it 2.5 stars for fairly average. What say you?
My first thing, I said Humperdinck looked nuts. I said the match went way too long.
Yeah, looks nuts.
They lost because Sweet Sam bumped into Cornette. That was the finish. He bumped into his manager and he got pinned.
Well, he did the dreaded roll-up, Greg. The roll-up of doom that has won every single 24/7 championship ever. So, yeah.
But I gave it 2 stars. I gave it 2 stars because I did. I wasn't like completely turned off. One of my favorite parts, by the way, and I know we've already mentioned college football. I don't know if you caught this though. Jim Cornette, or not, Jim Ross said that Doc was going off on them. He's like, you must be thinking they're wearing a Nebraska jersey or something. He's going off on these guys.
Yeah.
Then he kind of takes a dig at his own team. Man, the Sooners could use Doc this year.
Good Lord.
I'm assuming they sucked that year.
He acted like anybody gave a crap about that. Good Lord. I have a note about that later in the podcast, but yeah. You got the usual suspects, Ohio, Michigan, Alabama, Clemson. I've never heard anybody
reference Nebraska. I'm sorry. I've never, to this day. I'm like, Nebraska's a thing?
Their record in, just getting off on, a sidebar here, their record in 89 was 7-4, and they were 5-2 in the Big 8, so.
That's not so bad.
Nah.
A lot better than that, but he acted like they were 0-4 at this point or something.
Yeah, so I don't know.
For the 6-man tag, I think it's interesting that one of these men would become a major player in the WWE during the Attitude Era. Who the hell would have said it would be Fatu out of all these guys?
Yeah, right. Who had Fatu in the breakout star poll of this match?
To be honest, I thought it would, on paper, it would be Dr. Death, I would assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the only one that wrestled, in a big-time match out of any of them for the world title. Well, but, Dr. Death, not in the WWE or WCW.
Fatu, he probably at this point had already made the greatest tag team on the planet.
After this match, we go backstage with Gordon Sully. He's with Terry Funk and Gary Hart. Hart puts over the J-Tex organization and says that Mr. J will be at ringside tonight. Spoiler, I don't think he was.
Who's Mr. J?
Yeah, was he? There was a dude who looked like the Asian Big Bubba Rogers, following them. Did you notice that?
I did, yeah. Also, I was going to say, I'll just say it now since you mentioned it. He was walking backwards.
Yeah, he was watching Gary's back.
Hell? Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Weird. He was I'm like, who's going to sneak up behind Gary Hart and knife him? But I don't know. But he said he'd be there at ringside, and this is literally the last time you hear about this. So who the F is Mr. J?
It's the Joker, Mr. J.
My good Lord, pudding. But either Funk makes a bunch of cooking, frying, and zapping jokes because of the cage being electrified, and all that crap. And he claims that Sting and Flair will be electrified up against the cage tonight.
My note for this, I'm like, dude, at one point, we got to film a 10,000 watt boogie for YouTube.
Yeah.
What the hell is a 10,000 watt boogie?
I don't friggin' know, but he made a bunch of promises that didn't come true here in this promo. So, not to spoil anything, but nobody got electrified. Something else that is the exact opposite of electrifying. Up next, we got the Cuban Assassin taking on Tommy Wildfire Rich, Jim Barnett's
this match
favorite.
was Wildfire, let me tell you.
Oh, yes, my boy, Tommy Wildfire Rich. I'll give you the title.
I'm gonna use this again for this show. Psst, who's the Cuban Assassin?
Well, damn it, Greg, you should know who he is. He's the Cuban Assassin. After this show, he left to go book in Puerto Rico.
I thought that was Fidel Castro.
Oh, my gosh. Hey, don't say that in front of Sean Penn. But yeah.
And Jesse Ventura, by the way.
Oh, hell. I'm moving on. The Cuban Assassin, seriously, I think after this, he seriously went to the Puerto Rico territory to be the booker for a while.
WWC?
Yeah. The one that was eventually bought up by Carlos Colon. Or he might have owned it at this point, even. He probably did. Oh, I said Tommy Rich's skin tone is almost as pale as his hair.
Which rules him out of wrestling at Starrcade.
Well, you're damn right. Well, I don't know. It depends. Can Jim Barnett talk him in there? Because, he's such a beautiful man, my boy. But it's 8.5 minutes, I forgot to mention, of this crap. This match is beyond boring. I'd rather watch paint dry. Rich wins with a Lou Thez press for the pin. Uncle Dave says that Philly turned on Tommy Rich as well. Which he is you are correct. Uncle Dave gave this a dud. I gave it a 1. What say you?
I said, holy crap, boring, 1,000 rest holds.
Followed by a Luthez press.
I was tempted to give it 0 star. I give it 1 star.
This sucked.
Okay, so for this match, I said, here's a fact. I really have nothing. Rich has always sucked, and who the hell is the Cuban Assassin?
How dare you say Tommy Rich sucked? He's a former NWA champion. I don't know.
So was Rugged Ronnie Garvin, but
I not joke. If anybody, here is a challenge to the listeners. If you can find a Tommy Rich match that you think that you can hold up to me and say, this right here, this is a good one. Watch it and you'll be entertained. Please send it in. because.
And well, you know what?
So
How about
far,
this? How about this? If someone can do that, we'll do a watch along for it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I have yet to watch any single Tommy Rich match that I didn't hate. Or at least, hate is a strong word, but I hated most of his matches. Like, not even joking. It's garbage, man. Not saying that he was like doing anything wrong other than just being flat out boring.
Yeah, I mean, in doing all these shows, every one of his matches I've seen, just,
Yeah. They build up.
Also, he had a job, so clearly someone liked the stuff, so.
I mean, were you not listening? I just said Jim Cornette. Gordon Soley is backstage interviewing the fabulous Freebirds, Michael P.S. Hayes and Jimmy Jam Garvin. They do a lot of bragging and shouting.
That raspy voice of Hayes when he shouts, I don't know why. I chuckle.
I like it. I don't know about you. Maybe I'm just jaded here. I hate Jimmy Garvin. I cannot get into him.
Well, I mean, you hate Joey Janela too, and if you look at Joey Janela, he is clearly a Jimmy Garvin wannabe, and is that somebody you want to be?
No.
Seriously, anybody ever take a picture of like Joey Janela with his glasses on, his hair, and put it next to this Jimmy Garvin right here, Jimmy Jam Garvin? He's literally cosplaying. So.
And people talk up Jimmy Garvin like, I don't know. I didn't watch a lot of his stuff when he was doing his own solo stuff with Precious and whatever. It was Precious, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't watch a lot of that, so I don't have that to go on. I just have this overweight Freebird run to go on where he's the substitute Freebird because the other two are off with health problems, one's in Japan and one has health problems. So I don't know. And all he did was like rock back and forth really weird, have a look on his face like he was holding in a fart, and then and then he would just look at the camera and go, yeah. Like, okay, yeah, you're not even slightly cool. Yet,
damn, man.
Even
I feel like did he insult your mother or something, or what?
No, but I think the injustice of all injustices was, out of all the Freebirds going, I realize the other two were dead, I get it, but of all the Freebirds to go in the Hall of Fame, it was Michael and him.
Yeah, I feel like to the modern fan, they're the more known ones, though. Not justifying it, just saying that's...
Jim Cornette goes on, like, big rants about him. He's like, he wasn't a Freebird, he was only a Freebird in the car!
He was a freeloader!
Wow, that was good. Yeah, he's like, he's only a Freebird because he rode with him and rolled their joints.
Look at that man. He could probably roll a joint better than anybody, so.
Yeah, right?
He's got that look, bro.
He's got the joint roller look, bro. Good grief. But yeah,
you just know he loves Skinner too, so he did fit in.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, I'm sure he did, and I guess he liked to party with the Freebird, so they're like, whatever, you're in the crew. But either way, getting past my irrational hate of Jimmy Jam Garvin here, we move on to the fabulous Freebirds, Michael P.S. Hayes. Michael P.S. Hayes and Jimmy Jam Garvin defending the NWA World Tag Team Championships against the dynamic dudes of Johnny Ace and Shane Douglas with Jim Cornette in their corner. This went for 11 and a half minutes. The dynamic dudes kidnapped some poor unsuspecting kid out of the front row and gave him a neon hat. This was better than the chubby kid they pulled out and tried to play Frisbee with, I think. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I find it funny that Bret Hart would rip them off and give all his glasses, as an homage to the dynamic dudes,
Yeah, that's clearly what he was going for.
Bret couldn't stay original, had to rip these guys off, whatever.
Wow. I like how every time Bret gave his glasses to a kid, they were excited, or their parents were excited. Oh yes, yay! Oh, that's so cool. When Rey Mysterio would take his one mask off and give it to a kid in the front row, the kid would always be like, "Oh my gosh, yay, Rey Mysterio!" Whenever the dynamic dudes did this, the kid looked like he wanted to commit suicide at the age of 8.
What the hell?
It was painful to watch. Just, I don't know. But yeah, I said this kid looked thrilled. Not. Jim Cornette seems equally thrilled to be introducing these holes. And I love Shane Douglas, but God, this sucked. You notice that he gets on like his
dudes, man, they're dynamic.
Cowabunga, dude. Jim Yeah, Jim Cornette always did his, I gotta introduce my team at the beginning of the match thing. Did you notice how, like, unenthusiastic he seemed about this? He was like, yeah, it's Johnny and Shane, the dynamic dude. Yeah.
I kind of did, but then I was like, well, he kind of just took a small beating. This is his second appearance out there, so.
Could be that, or it could be he's sitting there going, what am I doing with my life? I just came out with Midnight Express.
I need to ask, because I'm clearly out of the loop here. Are they faces and Cornette's a face too, thus making the Midnight Express face at this point?
Yes. They were all baby faces.
Okay, there's a reason I asked that.
Yeah, okay. Here's where I wrote something about this, because we were talking about the smart marks in the Philly crowd, right? I said the crowd blows for the Freebirds.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be heels.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I swear they came off as like gods, and these guys came off as like, what the hell are you doing here?
They got cheered.
You're not wrong on that, but
they had the cheering equivalent to how much they were booed in Dallas.
Yeah, right.
So I was just like, what the hell am I missing? But even though this is supposed to be I said I don't know. I thought this at this point was a face versus face match, even though I went into it thinking the Freebirds were the heels. I don't know what's going on.
I was thrown for a complete loop, and I was kind of late when I was reviewing it. I was like, I'm pretty sure the dudes were always face.
Yeah,
like, literally,
they were.
Because of the whole shtick, and they're like, they could be a heel. They're like, look at them. They couldn't. There's no way.
No, you can't come out looking that flamboyant, we'll say, and be a heel. It's just, no.
It's kind of why Shawn Michaels felt the heel in the early years. But, I was like baffled, and like, as the match went on, as the crowd reactions were going, I'm like, okay, who am I supposed to like here? Now, going into this, I like the Freebirds anyways, but.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I wrote the Freebirds are clearly 100 times more over than the dudes, and the dudes are getting kind of booed.
Yeah.
That's Philadelphia, man. I said at this point in the night, just keep those keywords in mind. This is the best match of the night so far.
Wow, I had the exact same note.
Oh. I mean,
I like
it was
this
a low
match.
bar.
People are going to hear that and be, what? I like this match. I'm sorry, I did. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it was one of the better Freebird matches from this era, I would say. But Michael Hayes pulls.
Also, real quick, got it. Much as we make fun of them, Shane Douglas and Laurinaitis, they're not necessarily bad. I hated the whole dynamic dudes thing, but man, they were good.
Yeah,
well, Shane Douglas was good.
Johnny Ace was okay. Yeah, he was just okay. The word was he stuck around All Japan as long as he did because Mrs. Baba thought he was adorable. So,
and they didn't want to piss off, the Laurinaitis that mattered.
Wow, yeah.
But yeah,
he was like a Lanny Poffo hire. But the end of the match sees Michael Hayes pulling Johnny Ace's foot, saving Jimmy Garvin from. They called their move. The dudes called their finisher the wipeout. It was a double suplex.
Of course they did.
Yeah, it was a double back suplex, but it was like a slingshot. So they pick him up, bounce his legs off the ropes, and then hit the suplex. Well, they bounce Jimmy Jam Garvin's legs off the ropes, and in midair, Ace gets his legs swept, whatever, by Michael Hayes. This allows Garvin to spin around on top of Shane and pin him. Uncle Dave said that Philly was Bizarro World for this one. Of course, booing everything the dudes did until they'd think they were Roman Reigns or something, giving them no chance to get over. I resent that comment, because Roman Reigns could actually go. I'm joking. We just talked about the dudes were good, or they were acceptable. Uncle Dave and I both gave this 2.5 stars. What say you?
I said 2, and I was borderline 2 and 3. It was like, why not? It was the best match of the night so far. I'll say 3.
It was not bad. I didn't hate it. Most Freebird matches around this era, I'm like, oh God, skip. But this one was actually pretty decent. So
yeah, totally.
I didn't hate it. And
I was shocked at how much I actually liked it, because on paper this looked like a cluster.
Yeah, I saw Dynamic Dudes versus the Freebirds. Okay, break my own neck.
Sign me up, he said sarcastically.
Need more of that. Can we go to the back yet again? Gordon Solie is too much in the bag at this point, so they get Chris Cruz to interview the Steiner brothers. I'm sorry. I'm going to hell for that.
I'm not touching that.
I'm joking. Gordon would be back later in the night. The Steiner Brothers are clearly dressed up like clowns for Halloween with those jackets. Wow. Nothing?
Gonna
leave that one alone, huh?
I'm more on the promo part of this. I'm like, oh, good lord.
Well, for those that don't get the joke, they're wearing Michigan Letterman jackets, so that's why I said they're dressed up like clowns. Yeah, I know you do. I'm talking about our listeners.
I was like, do I mention that when reviewing this because there's something else again? Man, that promo from Rick Steiner, I don't know what the hell was going on there. And
yeah,
piggyback on all the stuff you've been saying. Did he get into solely schnapps or what? What the hell happened?
Oh my god!
I'm gonna do something to the girl. What?
Yeah, he's like, what's going on? Where are we? Who am I? I pooped. Like, it was stupid. Like, oh man. Chris Cruz asks the Steiners how they plan to fight a team that they've never seen before with Doom. Scott actually cuts it. I mean, it's not a good promo, but it's an acceptable promo, especially for this time. And he looks serious, whereas Rick is like he rides a short bus.
Good God!
What?
Views and opinions are not necessarily shared by us on this show, folks.
Yeah, well, he's wearing headgear too. So
that's right, to be fair.
Yes, but it goes with the short bus thing. I don't know. They turned Ric Flair. They turned Rick Steiner into a complete imbecile in the year 1989. Earlier this year, he was talking to a hand. He literally drew a face on his hand and talked to it. You remember that?
I do.
And now he's.
I don't remember. I remember like seeing it like on here. Like,
say what?
I don't remember it in person, but yeah, I definitely.
Well, yeah, we reviewed it, but yeah. So,
I'm almost certain, by the way, as a kid, I probably would have ate that up and loved it. Just saying.
He's talking to his hand. Look at it. Like,
is it really a stretch from Al Snow? What Al Snow's about to do in a couple of years, though?
That one you could excuse for. Well, he's talking to a mannequin head. He's nuts. Like, he's like whatever. He drew a face on his hand, like he's Cartman. Like, there was an episode of South Park where Cartman draws a face on his hand and puts like a fake wig on it, and he calls it Jennifer Lopez. I love my taco flavor kisses. And he and his hand has an affair with Ben Affleck. Like, that's all I can think of with this crap.
I got TV to watch today.
Hey, you have HBO Max, so go check it out. But yeah, this whole thing was just garbage. But we go to the actual match, which was not garbage. Well, I don't know. You might think it was garbage. This one is the Steiner Brothers, Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner versus Doom, who is Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, but we don't know that yet. And they have a woman with them. And the thing is, woman, Nancy Sullivan, whatever you want to call her, she's supposed to be a seductress, and she's been with, I don't know, she's been messing with Rick Steiner, I guess. That's been his thing. Another one.
Why he's going nuts?
Yeah, another one of it. Yeah, he's blue balling it. I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna do things. But anyway, I don't know.
I still can't get over that promo. I'm gonna take that woman. It's like he was like a couple words away from going Sammy Guevara on her.
Oh my gosh, that's effed up. Anyway,
it sounded like, did it not? It sounded like
a little
he wanted
bit.
to do like weird things to her.
Well, he's the dog-faced gremlin. He probably did. Both teams have generic WWE production themes dubbed in. Like, they didn't even try with the Steiners with this one. Like, they didn't edit in Steiner line. They didn't put in the Michigan fight song. Nothing.
Would you prefer that?
I don't know. They just had a generic theme. I will say, I think
fight song.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say, I think the Doom, like the theme they used for Doom, kind of fit them. But I thought they should have edited in the Nation of Domination thing. My gosh. But Doom looked freaking sweet. I thought, like, they just two giant black guys in masks and capes coming down, like looking intimidating as hell. Even if this wasn't great, I said this had a big fight feel to it, at least from my perspective. I thought, wow, they're building this up like this match is like something, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was too, because I think like they were building up as the top two teams, I think. Well, they were building Steiners up as like a top team, but like Doom had never. I think maybe they'd had a match or two, but that was maybe. I don't know. I think this is Doom's debut on pay-per-view, so yeah, I don't think they had like a match. Or if they did, not on pay-per-view. But yeah.
Well, both teams beat the absolute tar out of each other. In the end, when the referee wasn't looking, woman slipped something into Butch Reed. I think it was Butch Reed's mask, and he headbutted Rick Steiner with it to get the pinfall win. Yeah. Uncle Dave said the match went too long and had too many rest holds for something that was supposed to be a heated grudge match. He gave it 2 1/4 star. I gave it 2.5. What say you?
I gave it 2. I thought it was a nice brawl.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Something didn't clinch for me. It felt like it went flat.
Yeah.
But not flat enough to be like, oh God, this is horrible.
Well, no.
If that makes sense.
No, I totally get it. And this match was, it was fine. That was an old trick of the loaded mask. So, yeah, I don't know.
I thought that was clever.
It was. I've seen it done like once or twice in the past, but like it's nothing that's been done in today's times. Like you have to go back to like the olden days, for that kind of stuff. But
yeah, right. I said the fact of this match, the early Doom gimmick was trash, but in less than 2 years, Ron Simmons would make history. I mean, like the first Black World Champion.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
In 11 years, Scott Steiner would win a world title. So it's kind of a stark contrast.
Right, and Butch Reed would invent Netflix. So I mean, everybody's doing well. And
Rick
then
Steiner is on PTA or something like that, right? And
yeah, he's selling houses down in Florida or something. And Gordon Solie is in the back with Lex Luger. We get some sass from Sully as he asks Luger, how many times
I wonder why.
He says, how many times have you been champion? Luger says that he'll be champion as long as he wants. He walks away. And then Sully brings the mic back and says, he's been champion more than once, which means he can be beat. I'm like, whoa, you little smart ass. Oh, man. This, I cared more.
Just a huge fan of Flyin Brian.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It was funny to see, Sully actually give some like back talk to somebody, and like Luger completely like blew him off, like whatever. But we get Lex Luger defending the United States Championship against Flyin Brian. This match went 16 minutes 49 seconds. Flyin Brian comes out with an entire cheering squad. Lex Luger selling is horrible. I said it didn't completely take me out of the match, but like when somebody is not selling, and to me I'm like, gosh, like this was a decent match, but like. Do you know the spot I'm talking about where he had like arm locks in on Luger? Luger's not even paying attention to Brian. All he's doing is shouting at fans in the front row.
Yeah.
He's like, "You shut up." No, I
feel like he was buying time for something. Like someone was like legit hurt.
Yeah, and like Brian had this look on his face, like I don't know what to do. Like if I was Brian, I would have been kind of offended at this point. Like, dude, I'm literally twisting your arm. You're not even making a face. Like it's not even registering in your actions whatsoever that I'm doing anything to you. But either way, I know I just said that, but the match wasn't bad. Luger wins the match with a pinfall after hitting a hot shot. Uncle Dave said that the crowd loved both guys, although it was weird because they piped in a taped Luger chant at the entrance, which I did notice that. Did you catch that? I
heard it. I didn't know it was piped in. I mean, does he have full proof that was piped in?
Well, like I said, I think he was there in the audience, so I don't know, it sounded...
But does that really mean that it didn't happen? He's always been a critic against Luger, so... He also said the same thing about Goldberg, and you can go back and watch stuff, and you can clearly see them chanting Goldberg when he was adamant that they piped it in, so...
In the defense about the Goldberg thing, Bischoff did admit later on they did pipe in some Goldberg
but he talked
chants,
about it when he won the title at the Georgia Dome, and you can see them going crazy. I'm like, okay, dude, you're full of crap.
Yeah, no,
at least on that one. But
correct. Yeah, that one...
Say that again, sorry.
Clearly like... Well, the thing is,
you're supposed to say you are correct.
No. Oh, yeah, you are correct. But this, I don't know. It sounded a little unnatural, but again, that could just be bull crap. I don't know. But they also
I really have to go back and look at it now because But
well, he said this was weird because they had the Luger chant going on during his entrance. They also, and I didn't catch this, but he said they had a big flashing sign behind the camera prompting the crowd to cheer for him, even though he was supposed to be a heel. That part, I don't know if I buy that. Like, for God's sake. But Dave said that this was set up to be a 4-star match, but didn't quite get there. He gave it 3 1/4 stars. I gave it an even 3. What say you?
I gave it 2. I felt like it was not bad.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's like not enough there to get me excited.
Right. Yeah. It was pretty good, I thought.
Fun fact about this match. Brian Pillman opened the first Nitro and Luger was in the closing segment of the first Nitro. And this is 1989.
Wow. I didn't think about that.
6 years later, they would both be on Nitro. It's crazy. It just shows you their tenure there, too. Although Luger was in the WWE after this for a bit, but
yeah,
still, historic. That. Actually, matter of fact, now that I think about it, Luger would come back to WCW and Pillman would leave to WWE.
I have Jack's figures of these guys, by the way.
Of course you do.
But we go backstage with Chris Cruz now. He's with the Road Warriors and Paul Ellering. You can barely see Ellering because he's hiding in the shadows. When Hawk says that they've been underdogs their whole lives, I couldn't help but laugh. Like, did he mean underdogs in life or underdogs in fights? Because I could buy the underdogs in life because supposedly he came from a bad area, blah, blah, blah. But for God's sake.
I would probably bet the farm on them in a fight. So, yeah, I don't buy that.
Yeah, right? But either way, they claim that they're the best tag team in wrestling history. I mean, in 1989, maybe not, but I don't know. That's semantics. And they're going to tear down the skyscrapers. Of course, they have to make a lot of building puns, so. But up next, we got the Skyscrapers of Dan Spivey and Sid Vicious with Teddy Long in their corner. They take on the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, with Paul Ellering in their corner. This match went just over 11 and a half minutes. This was the match where I said that if Jim Ross threw out one more damn college football reference at me, I was going to puke.
Yeah.
Every effing match. Well, so-and-so played linebacker for the Who Gives a Crap University butt screwers. I don't know. Like,
what the hell?
It's like, I don't care, Jim. Once in a while is okay. Yeah.
We got to give him the Ron Simmons one because he's a legit legend for the Seminoles. So that one I'll give him.
He didn't even do that.
I know. But I just like, that's the only one I would accept. I was like, okay, because he is like a god for the Florida Seminoles to this day.
I give the Dr. Death one.
Well, the Dr. Death one is him sucking off Oklahoma, though.
Gosh. And I will even give him Brian Pillman because he played in the pros.
Sure, if you want to call the Bengals a pro team.
Wow. He also played for the Calgary Stampeders.
Hey, you love that one. Shut the hell up.
Yeah, I did. But he also played for the Calgary Stampeders in the CLF or CFL. Yeah, CFL. But other than that, like, every single person, he made a damn football reference to. Like, that's why when he came to the WWF.
So, I mean, I'm not defending him, but let's be fair. This is right in the heart of the beginning of the football, college football season. So October.
I know, but still, like, and that was something apparently when he came to the WWF. Bruce Pritchard claims that like people like the Undertaker came up and was like, I swear to God, if he makes a reference to my college basketball career, I'm going to stab him. Because he's like, I'm not Mark Calloway, I'm the Undertaker. And he's like, I get it, we'll tell him. But in the end, Animal hits a power slam on Sid. Teddy Long takes out Paul Ellering with a giant metal key and then throws it to Spivey, who takes out Hawk with it. The referee calls for the DQ. This was good, I said, but it dragged out a bit, and the ending was blah. Uncle Dave said that the crowd was really into this, and it was better than it sounds on paper. I'll give him that. It was better than it sounded on paper. But I gave it, both of us, me and Uncle Dave, gave it 2.5 stars. What say you?
I love the Road Warriors. You know that. They're like my all-time favorite team.
Yeah.
But this match to me was trash.
It was a big old hoss match.
My notes for it was 4 big dudes beating the crap out of each other. It feels like all 4 were trying to one-up each other with their hits.
Yeah.
And because of that, I said 1 star. It was boring. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to turn off. One note I wanted to make, by the way, because we're talking about the music being dubbed in. They dub in Sid's WCW dub-in theme.
Really?
Yeah, that's the entrance they use for the Millennium Mad Sid Vicious.
Oh, sounds pretty cool.
No, it's really good. It's just like, it's funny that they're dubbing over a dub with a dub.
So, right. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So, one fun fact about this though, all 6 men, including the managers, would be in the WWE in the next few years. That's crazy to think about.
Wow. Yeah, right.
I can say that for many matches, but like this one, I found it interesting that every one of them, all 6 of them, including the managers, would be in WWE in the next few years.
Yeah, right? Yeah. That's nuts. No, that's pretty cool. But after the match, Hawk steals a giant key from the skyscrapers while they were beating up on Animal, and he chases him off along with Teddy Long. Do you know what the hell that key was?
I don't.
Yeah, I didn't care enough to look it up.
I was going to say it's like a key to a building. A building's a skyscraper. I don't know. I'm just digging now, but
the key to victory. But we get Chris Cruz up next backstage, interviewing Ric Flair, Sting, and Ollie Anderson. Sting's face paint looks like a stained glass church window. They hit words.
Yeah, I was getting the first Seth Rollins Messiah shirt vibes from it.
Gosh, right? But they get some words from Ollie Anderson first, who does a regular, presentable job. Ric Flair does a great short promo, swearing to end Terry Funk in the NWA. Sting just gets me fired up and excited for the match. Nothing, of note to write down here.
I just found it weird that these two are cutting a promo together and they're like bitter rivals historically.
Right.
I mean, I get it. I get why. I mean, if you know the backstory, good, but it's just funny.
Yeah. This is where I said they give Bruno Sammartino a big introduction before this match, and the crowd blows, obviously.
Because the referee should always get a huge introduction.
Right. But I said, I'm sure this is exactly the type of wrestling that Bruno remembers from his days in the ring. Electrified steel cages.
Yeah, right.
That's not exactly the kind of wrestling. This is exactly the kind of wrestling that I remember from my days back in the ring. Not that crap they put on over in the WWF.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at @MainEvent_Marks and Facebook at Facebook.com/MainEventMarksPod.
Now, back to our program.
You ready for the main event?
I am.
Okay, well, the main event...
That's what I'm going to say, but yeah, I am.
The main event is the Thunderdome Cage match. It's the Great Muta and Terry Funk with Gary Hart as their Terminator. They're taking on Ric Flair and Sting with Ole Anderson as their Terminator. The Terminator is the only way to win is your quote Terminator has to throw the towel in for you to surrender for you. The special guest referee, as we mentioned, is Bruno Sammartino. This went for 23 minutes, 46 seconds. This crowd legitimately hated Terry Funk. That's the first note I made. Because they're throwing drinks at him, trying to climb the fence.
Before I forget, I want to, hold on, sorry, not to cut you off, because I got to mention before, since we're on Terry Funk, dude, he looks amazing here. He is freaking shredded.
Yeah, he looked like he spent a lot of time in the gym. Hell?
That's not the Terry Funk I remember, from, when I was watching him on the regular, wow, dude. Good Lord.
Physically, he looked great here. Yeah, I noticed that as well. But yeah, they're trying to jump the railing to fight him. They're throwing stuff at him. I'm like, man, Terry Funk in 89 had some freaking heat.
Well, this is fresh off him putting the bag over Flair's head and trying to kill him.
Yeah. Apparently that doesn't stand in Philadelphia.
No, but you can throw stonewalls at Santa, though.
Hell yeah. Sting and Ric Flair get godlike reactions. I said the Thunderdome Cage, I was going back and forth between saying it looked cool and looked goofy.
Well, my note on that is, so the deck. Oh, first of all, sorry, I got to talk about one thing before we even go on because I'm going to forget. The cage accidentally lit on fire to start the match. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah, I've got something about that coming up.
Okay, yeah. Since I already mentioned it, let's just talk about it. Okay. When I said one of the coolest things on here had nothing to do with wrestling, I geeked out watching this back, seeing Great Muta climb the cage and use his mist to spit out the fire. Yeah, that was so badass.
Yeah, because they were trying to put, I guess they used pyro, or maybe they did have some electricity or something, and they had vines and leaves and crap all over this freaking cage, and in the corner, it was damn near a bush, and it caught on fire, and they couldn't put it out, so Muta climbs the side of the cage and mists it, and the fire goes out. I'm like, who would have thought of that? Right?
That was so badass. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, it was great.
I think I marked too much for that if that's possible. Oh man, that was great. On the cage real quick though, I get what they were going with, with decorating it because Halloween, the theme and all that. Yeah. But to me, it just looked like it was not intentional and it just looked like hell. It looked like somebody forgot to finish decorating it.
Yeah, I know. This was, I don't know. It was weird. They had ropes and vines and bushes and leaves and gargoyles and what, I don't know. It looked dumb. I mean, it kind of looked cool. Kind of looked. Way. Yeah, I know, right? I don't know.
Does that make too much sense? A pumpkin?
I guess. My thing was, were you confused about the electric cage as well? Because I'm like, when is it supposed to be turned on? What parts are supposed to be turned on?
Yeah, I honestly forgot it was electric because it never turned on. So
yeah, nobody got shocked. Or I'm sorry, no, I take that back. Muta touched one part and supposedly got shocked at one point. I don't know if that was legit or not. But Funk was literally hanging off of it to start the match. So I was
not only was he hanging off of it, I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Is he drunk right now? Because he was fumbling back and forth. And he was he was on it. He was on the cage and on the rope at the same time. And then he was on the ropes and then he was on the cage and then he was on them at the same time. I'm like, what the hell am I watching right now?
Yeah, it was really weird. And it was cool. It kind of, because they were like, oh, he's nuts. What's that nut doing? Yeah. And it's but yeah, it never came into play, and they're playing it up on commentary like, oh, you can feel the heat from the electricity. And then Sting shoves Muta's head through it, and nothing happens. I'm like, okay. But anyway, getting to the actual match here. This starts off as an actual tag match, but quickly breaks down into a tornado tag, because they just didn't care anymore.
My first note on there was, do we really need tags in this?
No. That's why I was like, this is stupid. But this is where I was severely confused about the cage and the electricity. It just, none of it made sense. They used hanging ropes to swing around and to tie each other up on and whatever. And they used a cage on each other at various points. And they try to use, like, all of this stuff to the best of their advantages. So, I mean, good for them. The match ends with when Flair locks Funk in a figure four while Sting keeps doing splashes off the top rope onto Funk. And, in the center of the ring. And then Muta goes to hit Bruno, but Bruno punches him and he flops out of the ring. Then Ole Anderson punches Gary Hart, and Gary accidentally throws the towel towards Bruno. Bruno sees the towel and he calls for the bell. Uncle Dave said this was a crazy match, with Funk stealing the show with his antics despite having a bad knee. Also, the cage was a really impressive visual, although Dave has heard that overall the match didn't come across as impressively on pay-per-view as it did live. Well, he heard wrong. He, by the way, gave it 4 freaking stars. I gave it 3. What say you?
Okay, I said the match itself sucked. So for that, I give it 2. But, you know, the stuff with Funk was fun, and the fact that who was in it, and it turned into a brawl is what it should be. So I bumped it up to 3. It was like, yeah, it was a fun watch. So
he probably liked it more because he was physically there, which, I mean, I've done the same thing.
That's a bias you can't ignore. I gotta be honest with it. But I did say that the ending was horrible. It was stupid.
Yeah.
So it's a fun match for what it was. I get the decorations, but the cage, it just didn't look like it was done. Like there was production errors. And then, yeah, it was like the fact about this match, I wrote a fact. I'm like, what do I really write as a fact of this match? Look who's in it. What can I say?
Yeah.
I'm like,
right.
I could throw you a million facts, so I'm not even going to bother.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, I mean, yeah, it was a fun watch though. I mean, it was fun. As a match, it sucked. As like an overall experience watching and having fun, it was fun.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun match. It wasn't a 5-star Tokyo Dome classic, but it was really good.
That would be 6 stars.
Well, that's true. I did say, if you go back and watch the wrap-up of this at the end of the match, I'm pretty sure they're playing War Pigs by Black Sabbath during the match.
I thought I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
also, by the way, they got away with playing Iron Man for the Legion of Doom.
Wow. Yeah, I heard a little bit of Iron Man. I did.
Well, it was the Iron Man dub that they use. I mean, the remake that WCW themselves made, but they didn't dub over it.
Right, yeah.
Like they do with like DDP's theme and the Sid Vicious theme that he used. That was like a remake of a Poison song, I believe. But yeah, they didn't dub over it, which I thought was, cool. Cause I liked it.
I liked it.
I think, unfortunately they recycled it later for Vince Russo, but I liked it. It was good.
Yeah. Of all effing people. Because when I think Doom, I think Jim Russo, or Vince Russo.
But to be fair, I mean, okay, you talk all you want about Russo, but he clearly got good taste in music.
Yeah.
There's that.
My final note for the show is that JR is clearly hoarse at the end of this show.
Yeah. He said they ended up with, my note for that, I heard him say to Coddle at the end, well, the Road Warriors wanted to beat the Skyscrapers, but they'll take a no disqualification victory. I'm like, you just said they didn't beat them, but they had a no disqualification victory. What the hell does that mean?
Yeah. Wow.
Really, he was out of it.
Yeah, right.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at @MainEvent_Marks and Facebook at Facebook.com/MainEventMarksPod.
Now, back to our program.
That brings us to the final ratings of the show, man. IMDb gave this 7 out of 10. CageMatch.net gave it 6.42 out of 10. They're usually pretty brutal with their ratings. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10 because I had fun. What say you?
I think I might be right there with you. I said C+.
Yeah. So all in all, it was a really good show. Well, I can't say it was a really good show.
No, I will say it was a good show. Really good.
It was a good show. Yeah, it was very fun. I thought I had fun watching most of this. So there's that.
Yeah, but, I mean, if you guys watch it and don't want to start with the opening match, I understand.
Yeah, or the first 2 matches even. And skip the Wildfire match. That's just crap.
I don't think you have to. I think it's only like a couple minutes.
Yeah, about 8 minutes or something like that. Still, 8 minutes you'll never get back. But all right, man, that wraps up that show. Next week on October 14th, we're going to the WWF in the year 1996. It's WWF In Your House, Buried Alive. Excited for that one.
You might be, people might, if they haven't watched it before, you might be shocked at how good of a show this is. I think.
Yeah, I've never seen it before, so I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm actually liking the year 1996 the more I watch of it, so I'm excited to see this for sure. And I
like to dub this
the
Shawn Michaels NWO year.
Yeah.
About, so.
And this was right in the thick of Undertaker Mankind, so
yeah,
good stuff.
Good stuff, pal.
October 21st, we are back to WCW for another Halloween Havoc. It is Halloween Havoc 1993. This one is headlined by Cactus Jack and Big Van Vader. I am legitimately excited for that. Like, that should be a really good... I don't know if it's top to bottom really great, but I think it's Ric Flair and Rick Rude for the championship, so...
if I remember that match correctly, I think it was really good.
Yeah, so very much looking forward to it. Thanks for joining me here today, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see you all next week later on.